Vladdy with another homer. The Blue Jays kind of crack it open in the 7th. It was 2-1 for a while. They had 4.
The photo of Vlad watching the home run and Ohtani in the same frame
awesome.
to watch the home run as well is like, man.
It's pretty great.
You can't really build a statue with another player on the other team featured, right?
It's a good question.
Because the first thing I thought of myself is if they win it, this has got to be the statue. But the statue's not as good if Ohtani's not also featured. And I don't think the Dodgers would take kindly to the Blue Jays building Ohtani as part of their statue. If they won.
How many hater statues are there ever where you make a statue to commemorate you owning somebody?
It'd be like if the Sabres built a statue of Campbell hitting Umberger and Umberger is like laying like vertically or horizontally on the ground.
That'd be tough. Blue Jays win Series 2-2, which is it's been a great World Series. Watched a bunch of that last night after the hockey game. Sal Capaccio joins us on the Western Hotline. We'll get ready for the Bills to report to practice today ahead of Chiefs Week, and who's practicing, how injury designations might look. Lots to keep an eye on. Sean McDermott will speak before practice today, giving us some updates as well. Sal, good morning. We have some roster stuff, right? The Ed Oliver injury, practice squad movement. There's roster stuff with the Bills as well.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Interestingly enough, I tried almost stayed up for the entire 18-inning game. Fell asleep just before the home run, I guess.
Oh, my goodness.
And then went to bed last night in like the 7th inning. Kind of reverse there, right? A little bit. But that's what staying up for 18 innings does. Watched the Sabres game, flipped over the World Series, and then I did not know until I woke up this morning what had happened, but it looked like the Blue Jays were on their way, and they ultimately did win. Did win. Good World Series so far. Yes, The Bills made some roster moves yesterday, and they signed Jordan Phillips and Jordan Poyer from the practice squad of the active roster. Remember the day they brought them both in for the practice squad back a couple months ago? And, here's some veterans. They're going to be in the room and see how it goes. They're going to help out with the young guys and Cole Bishop and Deion Walker and TJ Sanders. Well, things change. Circumstances change. And Jordan Poyer now has had to play, and now he's going to be a full-time member of the roster, and so is Jordan Phillips, mainly due to Ed Oliver's injury. So what that does now is it brings the 53-man roster to 53. They have a full roster now, but they do have 2 open roster spots on the practice squad. Now, most teams, you get 16, but you get a 17th with an international player. The Bills have one, Travis Clayton, so that's why there's 2, just so everybody knows.
Okay.
So they have 15, they get 2 more. I expect Gabe Davis to be that guy at some point. I don't know if it's today. It could be today. It could be next week. It could be after Thanksgiving. I'm just saying, I think Gabe Davis is going to start practicing at some point, and when he does, he will immediately count on the practice squad. He will not count as a injured to return guy. You know what I mean? Like when they do that with only the 8 that they get.
Okay.
All right. We still don't really know what his timeline is, right? Because he's not really on the roster, and he's not practicing, right? So he's not ever a part of the injury reports.
Right. So like I said, I think he's going to start practicing probably this week, next week. At some point, we don't know his timeline until he's on the field.
Right.
But yeah, that's right. But I think that's going to happen soon.
So we're waiting injury report stuff. Monday, Sean McDermott was asked about the players that were listed as week to week, and he kind of said there was some variability in there, which to me it seemed a little bit like a non-answer. Maybe they're waiting to find out. Who are we waiting to find out on today?
Matt Milano, Terrell Bernard, Daquan Jones, and Joshua Palmer. Now, in those guys, Milano and Bernard, well, I should say Bernard suited up. He just didn't play on Sunday against the Panthers. Milano did not suit up at all, and it felt like going through the week he might have been close because he practiced all week. Jones and Palmer did not practice at all throughout the week. I mean, I would think that they seem like it just feels like they're more a ways away than, well, certainly Bernard, but even Milano, because they haven't even been practicing. The other guys did. So we'll see when we get there. Now, Ed Oliver's on IR, obviously, so that's something, a move that they made. So they now have 4 defensive tackles when you count Jordan Phillips being brought up. Daquan Jones, Deion Walker, Larry Ogunjobi, and Jordan Phillips. But if Daquan Jones isn't practicing, you still only have 3 on the active roster as far as what might be available to them playing Sunday against the Chiefs. But those are really the guys that you're looking at right now.
And Jones is big, Sal, because, I mean, with Oliver out, Phillips now at least on the active roster. Would there be another move coming, or do you think they're okay at that position? Or will that really be dependent on whether Jones is able to practice and play soon?
Probably dependent on that, Joe. I was a bit surprised it wasn't Zion Logue over Jordan Phillips on the 53, only because Zion Logue has no elevations left, and he's still on the practice squad. If you want Zion Logue, you got to sign him. You can't elevate him. Jordan Phillips, you could have elevated another time. They do have Fedarian Mathis. He has actually played already this year. I think he was in the Jets game, if I remember correctly. He's been brought up. Now, TJ Sanders is on IR, and I don't think his timeline, I don't think he's coming back anytime soon necessarily, but eventually down the road, you could see TJ Sanders. He could be an IR to return guy. I think the big debate is, the question is, do you go outside the organization to find another defensive tackle? And if you do, is that via free agency? Is that via trade? My thought on that has been that would be more through free agency. I just think the defensive tackle, you could trade for a guy. There's no doubt. I'm not telling you can't. You could trade for a guy, but I just think that it feels more likely that you're going to use some assets. You're probably doing it to get a wide receiver. I mean, how many assets do you have to go out there and trade? And a defensive tackle, a rotational piece. You bring in a guy in here, he's probably a rotational piece. You're not getting, a high-end guy that's going to be playing, 60% of your snaps. So to me, you can get a veteran guy. Now, they did work out yesterday Raekwon Davis. Raekwon Davis has played for the Miami Dolphins, the Indianapolis Colts, still pretty young. He's 28 years old. He's a guy that, you can use to plug up a little bit here. And that's the kind of guy that I feel like you would probably want to go out and get. 6'7", 325, by the way. He's more of a run-stuffing, nose tackle type of player.
Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. Sal, we did not talk to you yesterday. Sean McDermott spoke with the media, so did Joe Brady on Monday. And I wonder your takeaway on what they had to say about this team. I think, Bills fans are happy, very happy. They dominated. They won. They won in a lot of phases. But, of course, the ongoing conversation is about the passing game. And it sounded to my ear that McDermott and Brady maybe have different evaluations of it right now. Joe Brady seemed to think, like, when we need to do it, we can do it. We didn't need it. And McDermott seemed to express maybe some concern that, in fact, the passing game does look the way that it looks right now. He's at least leaning into the idea that he wants them to be two-dimensional, and right now they might not be two-dimensional to his liking.
Yeah, there's a lot, I think, that has to get parsed through what they said. I look at and I read the comments from fans, and there's always been this perception that Sean McDermott just wants to run the ball, right? That's been provably false over the years. What he does want to do is have an efficient run game, and he would love to control the game with the running game. I think every coach does, but certainly he does. There's no doubt. I'm not going to deny that part of it. But he's not averse to throwing the ball. He wants to throw the ball. He has Josh Allen. But when you throw the ball, you have to be efficient and effective at it. And they want to be able to have a two-dimensional offense. What does that mean? That means when you have the ball, the defense doesn't know what you are going to do because you're good at both. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It's simple as that, right? I mean, and hey, we can run the ball. And when you run it like the Bills did last week, there's nothing wrong with leaning on the run game. I mean, I'd tell you it'd be malpractice if they didn't keep giving the ball to James Cook and toss sweeps when you're getting 11 yards a carry. But, man, they had to throw the ball last week, and it didn't go very well, especially in the first half. And that's what Sean was talking about. And when Sean said, his quote was, at the end of the day, we've got to be able to throw the football. That's a big belief of mine. And philosophically speaking, the two-dimensional approach, whether throwing to running backs, tight ends, or wide receivers, we've got to be able to throw the football, or else you're going to end up sitting in a one-dimensional style of offense. You have to do both effectively in order to play at the high level that we need. That's Sean McDermott's quote. All right. Establish the line of scrimmage, he said, and when you do that, you can throw and you can run. So I think, there's this perception that this coach just doesn't want to throw, and it's just wrong, and people need to stop thinking like that, and that's just a pre-belief and notion from a lot of people that they just have to stop believing, I guess. I don't know. The second part of that is, then you get to Joe Brady, who's the offensive coordinator, who was asked about Sean's comments. Mm-hmm. And, hey, Sean, you got to be better at throwing the ball. What do you think about the passing game? Well, he wasn't asked about Sean's comments. Brought up, he was asked about it. He said, we didn't really need to pass it yesterday, meaning Sunday. There are always elements you want to clean up. Technique, scheme. Anytime you run the ball for 240, you're going to be pleased with how it went. He said, we have shown, looking back at the Baltimore game, we can throw the ball in passing situations when we need to. I'd love to throw for 300 or run for 200, but that's not how the game went. Then he said later, he has no concerns about the passing game. And I think what's happening is clearly, like you're getting, and I don't blame anybody for saying this, the head coach, he's sounding like he has some concerns about the passing game.
Yep.
The offensive coordinator sounding like he doesn't. Now,
yeah.
Does Joe Brady actually have some concerns that he doesn't want to air out in public?
Probably.
That's what I'm
probably
wondering.
right?
Like from what you know about how he usually does these press conferences, is it not possible that he's saying he doesn't have concerns, but he knows that they've got some problems?
It's very likely, yes, because that's what coaches do. They don't throw their players under the bus. They want to keep confidence going. They want to talk about, hey, we did this right, we did that right. I mean, that's just how coaches talk. I also found it interesting that in the post-game press conference after Sunday's game, Sean McDermott talked a lot. He talked about the run game, how good it was. He specifically mentioned Aaron Cromer as doing a really good job in the run game. And I think, I'm wondering, is that a little nudge at, hey, run game, Aaron Cromer, who, by the way, I mean, Aaron Cromer is basically like the run game coordinator, right? He does a lot with that, with Joe Brady and helping to call those plays and how that works. And then is that a little nudge on, hey, Aaron Cromer, great job, you're doing that. But Joe, we need more in the passing game part of that. You know what I mean? I think you could definitely have that thought that happened there.
Right. It's interesting. We'll see if they add anything to it or what their answers might be. The Palmer timeline makes things super interesting, Sal. And then, of course, like the game on Sunday, you probably would wonder. I don't know if Brandon Beane would be swayed one way or another by how they look against the Chiefs on Sunday. I think it might be a good idea to not think about that. But, injuries, you might not want to make a trade until you get through the game because it's one less game for whatever player you might acquire to get injured or whatever player looking to trade away to get injured. We've seen contenders trade away a couple players in the mix here, so maybe to make room. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, the trade deadline is Tuesday at 4 p.m., as you guys know. Mm-hmm. And since there has been no trade as of now, I mean, now you're game planning. Now you're getting ready for the Chiefs. I mean, it would be a bit surprising to get one later in the week like this. It could happen, I guess. Yeah. But, then you have to kind of just insert a guy. If you're planning on him playing, you could trade for a guy and then make him inactive and not play him. The other part of this is I always remind everybody, it takes two to trade, obviously. There are a lot of salary cap constraints, right? When you work through that, like that's got to be something that Brandon Beane's got to hammer through. Even if there's two teams, a team and the Bills that say, hey, we want to make this work, the Bills got to make the money work. I mean, and that's not going to be easy with some of these deals. Like, how do you do that? Do you release somebody? Do you trade somebody and send it back? Do you restructure contracts? These are the real issues that the Bills have to get through if they want to make a trade. So that could be happening. And then finally, I just think generally in football, because I think teams just want to wait until they're officially like, well, let's get if we win this week. Even the Jets might be sitting there going, if we win a second game, we don't really want to make any trades by Tuesday, right? So they kind of wait as long as possible.
It's funny you mention that. I was looking at the schedule for this week and what games, who to root for to convince a team to sell off their pieces. Mm-hmm. And Miami, if they lose tomorrow night, they drop a seventh game.
2-7.
If Minnesota loses again, would they say all right, clearly in this NFC we are in real trouble? Carolina could even get to that spot. So, yeah, I mean the deadline is in an interesting spot, and some of these teams might think they're more alive than they really are, and you kind of got to wait it out.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens Tuesday at 4 p.m.
All right. Thank you, Sal.
You got it, guys.
Sal Capaccio on the Wester Hotline. Bills back to practice today. Sean McDermott to meet with the media.